Hello and welcome to the Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast. We are your hosts, Eric Sturgeon.
And I'm Russell Sorry.
This podcast is about all things Wisconsin, history, music, and culture.
While drinking a few brews.
Though we don't often use strong language, the jokes and the content is not intended for young audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Before we begin the episode, we have to give a huge shout out to the Dangits from Madison, Wisconsin, for providing us with great bluegrass intro you hear at the beginning of every episode. The song Razzle was written by Jamie Lampkins, but is performed on behalf of Tom Wasselchuk and the Dangits. If you have a chance, check these guys out at dang-its.com for upcoming shows, music, or on how to book them for weddings, parties, and etc. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast. I am Eric, and that is Russ. He's sipping a beer. We really hope you enjoyed the Halloween series, which just concluded, and we look forward to continuing that tradition for years to come. Let us know what you thought, and send us some suggestions you love to hear and for next year's Halloween series. Also, remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review where that is necessary, YouTube and Spotify and Apple. We appreciate any feedback, positive or negative. We've got to learn and grow, and we'd love to hear anything you have to say. Today, we have another great episode lined up for you. Our main story is about the father of the automobile. That's Dr. J.W. Carhart of Racine, Wisconsin. We have music from Xposed Foreheads, a little throwback to the Halloween series, if you will. A Wisconsin beer review, again. Another edition of How Many Loco You At? Oh, yeah. And another great interview with Brewfinity. Without further ado, here is our story on Dr. J.W. Carhart.
So one great thing about our state is all of the technology that originated here in Wisconsin. And this particular debate, this topic could be debated, but in our opinion, there is no debate. We are talking about Dr. J.W. Carhart, the father of the automobile. We use some truly great references for today's story. I have to cite the Wisconsin Historical Society and two highly recommended books, John Wesley Carhart, preacher, author, inventor, physician, and father of the automobile. What a title. I mean, geez. And Yarns of Wisconsin. And the latter book is a collection of stories throughout the state of Wisconsin, basically a lot of older stories about logging, iron mines, just a whole bunch of people like randomly came together and put all these stories together in a book, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I did enjoy it myself.
The specific portions of the book that we used were How We Loved Cars, written by Harold McClelland, and Father of the Automobile by Frank Seton. We are going to focus specifically on Dr. Carhart's work with inventing the automobile, as there are many other interesting things about his life that we could talk about. But if you wish to learn more, pick up one of these books and read it yourself. He was a pretty eccentric person and, like myself, curious and explorative.
Yeah, definitely.
He was born on December 23rd of 1914 in Coeman, New York. John Wesley Carhart, or more commonly known as J.W. Carhart. And that's funny, the 1800s naming conventions. Like, you would be E.P. Sturgeon, and I'd be R.L. Sorry.
Right. You'd be R.L. Stein.
R.L. Stein, yeah. Write some Goosebumps books.
Write some spooky books.
Before moving to Racine, Wisconsin, he was living in New York, where he became a Methodist preacher and was a scholar, earning a doctorate of divinity. He also wrote stories, with many of them being published around the United States at the time. In 1871, the family made a trip westward towards the Wisconsin Conference, where he actually preached in Racine's Methodist Church. J.W. Carhart would meet a man named George W. Slauson, a wealthy lumber dealer and gentleman who was well known in the community. They met at a church service and began to talk about an idea. Slauson would be the money man and would assist by providing the capital to take on a project, and that's pretty awesome. I mean, I have invention ideas, and there's just no way I can afford it.
Yeah, I mean, every project in history needed the brains of the operation, but also required the money of the operation. You got to have the money man.
That's the capital's the thing that kills pretty much 90% of inventions out there.
Right, and honestly, you end up getting screwed if you're the brain guy, and if you end up selling that idea to anybody, you're losing out on what you really could be making. So it's best if you can find somebody who's able to financially back the project, and then you maintain that integrity of the engineered part.
Exactly. And so John's uncle, another doctor, H.S. Carhart, was a professor at Michigan State and assisted John in making the first conceptual drawings on the horseless carriage that was in John's head dubbed Spark, is what he named the vehicle. Development soon began in an old brick barn. The horseless steam carriage would soon be a reality. The boiler for Spark came from the Button Steam Fire Engine Company in Waterford, New York, created with engineered drawings for the castings made by his uncle, who was again a professor at Michigan State. Like a carriage, it had a fifth wheel for steering. The vehicle was fitted with link motion that would allow it to roll backwards, would not allow it to roll backwards, and bolted to the sides of the boiler were two small side valve steam engines that were driven with the gears down to the wheels below. All of these components were fitted onto existing carriages during the time nothing was known about pneumatic tires, ball bearings, or refined liquid fuels. So, I mean, steam engines and steam were kind of the go-to for the late 1800s. I mean, that was kind of the technology out there.
Yeah, and when we say that that he's the inventor or the father of the automobile, you got to remember that, those other, the internal combustion engine, liquid fuels, all those refined things, spark plugs, all of these more modern things didn't exist. So remember, this is the idea of, this mobilized transportation that is without horse.
Exactly. When the barn doors opened and Carhart and his son went for the first ride, people shuddered, horses screamed, and children cried. In his own words, the noise of the exhaust, which escaped through the stack and which shot smoke in cylinders 15 feet into the air, was terrific and startling at the same time, which is pretty awesome. I mean, he scared like Racine residents.
It was exotic, terrifying, and it turned me on.
He told an interviewer 41 years just before his death, of course the steam whistle with which it was equipped did nothing to make matters any better. In fact, it was not long before we had all the streets in the town ourselves. For when they had seen the machine, all of the citizens were unanimous in predicting that their thing would blow up.
Yeah, I've had a few neighbors with cars and trucks that kind of sounded that way too.
I've definitely had a Volvo or two that were the muffler fell off, or a Jeep.
You had the D240.
Oh yeah, and then I had a Jeep. It was a Jeep Cherokee 90s, and the muffler fell off, and I got pulled over pretty much like every hour on the hour with cops hitting me up.
Was that the black one?
The black one.
Yeah.
When the muffler came off, that was the loudest thing.
That was disgusting.
It was bad. I mean, like you talk about Harleys being loud, this thing would blow your windows out. It was real loud.
It was sweet.
The people were so angry with the sound that the citizens of Racine were going to run him out of town. The car had a max speed of only 5 miles per hour. He faced some hot water when one of the horses became so scared that it had fallen and broken a leg. The person was a rich and wealthy person by the name of J.I. Case, whose name you probably recognize in the state of Wisconsin.
You definitely should. Case
International.
Yeah.
Who produced farm equipment back then, just not the tractors we all know today. And at some point, we will do an episode regarding him. Obviously, he's a big influence on tractors and agriculture in general.
Right. Look at all that agriculture.
The next day, the town council banned the machine from the town streets, and it was branded a menace to society. He was able to get out of the suit, but it was a huge blow to him. But the state of Wisconsin did not find much of a nuisance, though. In 1875, the Wisconsin state legislature put up a prize of $10,000 to anyone who could come up with a self-propelled vehicle. The law stated that to any Wisconsin resident who could invent, after a 5-year continued trial, and use or produce a machine to propel by steam or any motive agent, which shall be a cheap, practical substitute for the use of horses and other animals on the highway or farm, would receive the rewards. His initial idea would be passed on to the Oshkosh, which was another vehicle name, who took the original design and built upon it and made many improvements.
Yeah, definitely pretty much the exact same components and an idea. It's just a little bit more modernized, I suppose.
I mean, what an exciting time, though. Could you imagine seeing that in the paper? Like $10,000 to anyone that can invent this. This is what we need. Like,
I mean, especially that amount of money. $10,000
back then.
Holy moly.
In 1878, where there was the first auto race would be held, and any car that could survive the 200-mile journey from Green Bay to Madison would receive the prize. Only 2 cars were entered, and the one was called the Green Bay, and the other, based on Carhart's design, the Oshkosh. And, those were the only 2 machines that were actually in this race. And the Green Bay was a faster machine, but it actually broke down 20 miles from Madison. But the Oshkosh had done it, arriving in Madison after its 33-hour and 27-minute trip with an average speed of 6 miles per hour, which That's a long travel, but it'd be kind of cool. I mean,
it is. It's crazy to think that such a small vehicle could house and incorporate all of those needed components and then go that distance at that rate of speed. It kind of blows my mind that somebody was smart enough and had the ingenuity to put together this item back in the 1800s.
Right, just coming up with some concept sketches.
We take all of this for granted now when we all hop in our normal vehicles every single day. We just power them on and we drive great distances, and this is what they struggled through. Back in the 1800s, it was difficult and almost impossible for you to take a vehicle from Green Bay to Madison. Right. Imagine how many people do that now, whether they're going from Green Bay to a Badger game or from Madison to a Packer game.
Exactly.
That trip is made many times, thousands of times per year here in this state.
And, this made Carhart kind of a legend in the automotive. It's sad that he wasn't as well known. But though he did not receive the award as it was given to the inventors of the Oshkosh, Alexander Gallagher, Frank Schomer, A.W. Farrand, and, of course, J.F. Morse of Morse Fairbanks, yep. Carhart would go down in history in the books as the father of the automobile. After all this, he continued to preach and ended up in Oshkosh as well as Appleton. He would continue to develop pieces of the automobile and has patents on many different things like the laminated tire in 1907, as well as an additional vehicle tire design in 1910, thus kind of helping develop the pneumatic and new tire designs that are actually on cars today.
Yeah.
The man who started it all would fade into obscurity until 1908. He was invited to the International Automobile Exposition in Paris, France, as a guest of the French government, where he was officially dubbed the title of the father of the automobile and presented a cash prize for his contribution to the development of the automobile. For a short time living his life as a celebrity, but again would return to obscurity and only known for car aficionados of the deepest kind, such as my dad, and I think my brother knows about him too.
Yeah, I think anybody who appreciates just the whole mechanics and the engineering and thought behind the whole object of driving a vehicle, a horseless carriage, if you will, definitely would recognize this name and would appreciate the things that he did. And then honestly, he sacrificed a ton because the names aren't, his name isn't on a lot of the things that get all the publicity. He's just got these things that are patented.
Right.
And nobody knows the patent person.
I know, exactly. That's usually it. I mean, for example, like I've done a lot of things for Generac.
You have patents.
Yeah, and nobody even knows.
Nobody knows you.
They just see the thing in the store. That's all they know.
You're a great name in the generator world.
Right. A legend of the generation. A power generation.
And nobody knows who you are.
Exactly. But he later moved to San Antonio, Texas, where on December 21st of 1914, his life would come to an end. But this is the main reason I wanted to bring him to everyone's attention. We owe a ton to this man, and we hope to shed some light on the interesting person he was. I just think he's just a really good, another piece of Wisconsin history that isn't well known, that needs to be out there.
Yeah, I think a lot of other states and cities and communities have their own legend and folklore and names that are associated with them. And Wisconsin we have a ton outside of the beer history and it's just, we have so many different areas of work and mechanics that have come from this state. I mean, the entire crane industry wouldn't be anything if it weren't for Milwaukee with Pauling and Harnischfigger.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned Morse Fairbanks.
Yeah.
I mean,
Carl Sainer, the
yes,
snowmobile. I mean,
exactly.
Just unbelievable.
There's just so many different industries that wouldn't even be probably nearly as refined and engineered as they are without some of the people from our own state.
Right, McCormick, International, Case. I mean, all the agricultural stuff, a lot of it originated here. And
I honestly, I've said this probably a few different times. I don't know if it's been on this podcast or not, but the dam, Hoover Dam. I mean, almost everything that operates and runs in the Hoover Dam was made in Wisconsin. You've got the Alice Chalmers generators and engines that are out there. Turbines, that's what it is, turbines. The P&H Pauling and Harnish figure cranes that are running throughout that building to keep things operating. It's just insane that far less people, I think, know about Wisconsin's hand in so many different things. So that's the aim of most of this. I mean,
Yes.
we like to have fun, and we like to mention and highlight different figures that maybe aren't as mechanical and
Right.
whatever.
We have some doozies coming up. I'm gonna throw it out there.
But with some of this, we want you to also gain some really cool knowledge.
Exactly. And that's going to conclude the main segment for today, but stay tuned.
All right, so today's music segment is almost a carryover from the Halloween series. We had one additional submission of spooky-themed music that we just couldn't pass up. And this band is pretty damn incredible. They remind me and Russ both of bands like Devo, the B-52s, and the Talking Heads. These guys are absolutely phenomenal. I can't say enough about how awesome their music is, and you can find them on Spotify. Everything is just absolutely phenomenal and so just so different. I love it. So without any further ado, this is the Xposed Foreheads, and the song is "Save All Monsters."
A dark and stormy night, it was starting to pour. Then came a knocking on the door. I opened it to find the wolf man. He said it was bad and we needed a plan. He said all the monsters are in trouble. We needed to help them all the double. We're gonna grab the witch's hand. That calling all the ghouls, we're gonna make the scene. We gotta save all monsters for Halloween. Save all monsters. Save all monsters. We gotta save all monsters. Save all monsters. Call your ghoul friends to come out tonight. The invisible man is out of sight.
hey, that again was Xposed Foreheads, and that was Save All Monsters. I absolutely love that stuff. Cool music. Check them out, please. We now have another beverage review. This one is Brewfinity, and this is called Day Drinker.
Yeah, so Day Drinker is an American premium lager coming at the ABV at 4.7%. As the name implies, it is a day drinker, 4.7%. I'm kind of just tasting it right now, and I'm getting a really earthy taste to it, like a really like earthy
Earthworm Jim.
Earthworm Jim. No, it has an earthy taste to it. You're definitely getting that lager yeast flavor. It's a little bit danker, I would say, than your standard American lager.
Yeah, and honestly, you know what I'm getting? So this is the second one I've drank, not today, but I'm getting like, if you were to put like only 6 scoops of fresh ground coffee into a pot that's meant for 12, I'm getting that really like background hint of almost like a coffee ground, but like it's really, really not pungent. It's not full, you know?
Yeah, it has a little hint of sweetness. I'm getting, I don't know if there's actually, it's in there, but I'm getting hints of coriander.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Little hints of coriander. It's pretty good. It's like I said, it's not like, it says American premium lager, but it's definitely not like your cheap beer. It's more of a danker lager flavor. It's a little bit heavier on the heavier side, unlike your lagers where you can drink those all day. You know.
Yeah, it's
like
crazy. This is a 4.7, but it drinks a little heavier than that, it seems.
And it would definitely fill you up if you were to have, a few of these.
Too, that's a pint can.
It is a pint can, so this one can is definitely going to fill my stomach.
All of their beers, I believe, come in the pint. I don't believe they sell in like a 12-ounce can. So, really, here, this is the long and the short of it. These are independent craft brews, really using top-notch, top-quality, individual product inside of the beer, and they are brewed with much more caution and care than some of these other larger lagers that you would drink, mass-produced. So these are definitely it's an amazing beer, and like I said, it just has really good quality in it.
And for those that don't know, they're from Oconomowoc, and hopefully we'll have them on the show later today. We have an interview scheduled with them, so hopefully you get to hear a little bit more about their brewery. It's a newer beer that came out that I've seen. The can design's really neat. It kind of has like that 70s vibe to it.
Yeah, and it's a wrapped can instead of just like printed can, like some of your more, I guess, just your more mass-produced beers. It's really nice. I think it's a really good quality product from an established craft independent brewery. I love it.
But yeah, definitely go and grab these from your liquor store and try them out, and let us know what you think.
All right, so we have another edition of How Many Locos You At? Today's article is about a man who may have purchased a motorcycle to avoid an ignition interlock device, and he now faces his 10th drunk driving charge. And this is after a crash not fatal. So this man is still alive, and he's facing these charges. So the gentleman is 52 years old. He made his initial appearance in Winnebago County, the courthouse, on Wednesday afternoon, where a $25,000 cash bond was set. He returns to court September 3rd for a preliminary hearing. According to the criminal complaint, a Fox Crossing police discovered a motorcycle on the side of the road shortly before 3 a.m. on August 20th. The officer noticed the rear tire was dug in and a pile of dirt was behind it, as if the motorcycle got stuck trying to go over the curb, and the driver attempted a hard acceleration over the curb. Now, I've got a different opinion. I've seen this maneuver done hundreds of times. They lock their front tire up on a curb or on a rock or something, they lean forward on the front suspension in order to remove weight from the rear tire, which is where all the power goes, and they are just trying to burn the hell out of the back tire. They're just trying to smoke out the neighborhood. You've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Your dad's probably done it right in the driveway.
Yep.
So the man was found in a ditch nearby, which is never good.
No.
If you're found in a ditch, that's crazy. He claimed someone else was driving the motorcycle. Yeah, highly doubtful.
Yeah.
Highly doubtful. After police got a warrant, a blood sample was taken. A preliminary breath test had a result of 0.135, which is plenty over the legal limit. Not quite double, but there. The individual had an absolute sobriety order, obviously due to his many convictions of drunk driving. For those of you listening, an absolute sobriety order means he does not drink beer. He cannot drink beer and have any sort of keys, any sort of driver's license, anything like that. So he's in clear violation of this. He did have an occupational driver's license, which means he can go to work. There's really particular hours that you can drive. But this obviously was outside of those the hours. So this adds more to the criminal complaint here. If convicted, he faces at least 4 and up to 15 years in prison, not jail, prison, for a 10th OWI with all of those additional things. According to the criminal complaint, this individual was convicted, he was convicted after drunk driving incidents on, wow, these are some really hefty dates here. He's 2011, 2008, 2006, 2003, 2000, 1998, 95, 90, and 89.
So he's like a candy man. He comes out and gets a DUI every 2 years.
Just rocking it, man. Just whenever he's got the opportunity to get convicted, he does it. In the most recent case, he was sentenced for 5 years in prison, which was 2013. He was also placed on extended supervision for 5 years. Basically just reporting to some sort of a parole officer. He's required to have the ignition interlock, which is you got to blow to go. And he's supposed to have that for 3 years, which is why he apparently was getting this motorcycle. So
a blow to go. So you bought a Harley to drink barley.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You got it. You got it. You know the game.
So let's
Wisco.
Let's put some of this evidence together. So we got
0.135.
0.135. Harley.
He is
ditch. Chaps ripped.
Chaps ripped. You can argue if he ever even had a pair of Levi's under those Harley chaps.
No, he was just rocking a dinghy.
He was just rocking chaps with a dingus hanging down and his hole open.
So what
his Cheerio.
So with all this evidence put together, what is your take? I mean, it sounds like this guy is a veteran of drinking. He hit a 0.15, you want to say?
135.
135. And he ended up in a ditch.
Clearly doing like a burnout is my opinion.
So
I don't think you get that much dust just from smacking a curb.
So the hint of extreme is talking this guy might be a Four Loko drinker.
I think he's a straight up Kyle.
He's a Kyle?
I think he's a Kyle.
He punches drywall.
He's
sips
old. He's
EDs.
older than most of the Kyles that any of us know, but he's a Monster Energy drinking, Harley riding, idiot, just straight up dumb. And so I'm thinking he's got to be into his 3rd can of Loco.
Yeah, I was thinking 4 cans. Do you think he has like sick monster tattoos and stuff though too? Like
For sure.
even though he's older,
100%.
like he has some sick monster tattoos.
Oh, and he's probably got a neck tattoo on his thick neck. What an idiot. I hate this guy.
No, what like so you're thinking like 4 cans, 3 to 4 cans. You think?
He's
so
like he's into a 3rd
12,
can
you're
for
thinking
sure.
12
3.5.
Okay, so you're thinking 12 Loco, 12 Loco. I was thinking kind of in between, so maybe we'll go with the 14 Loco because we're in between a 3 and 4 can. Because I mean, I don't think he's extreme as the people going to the roof in Beloit, but he also did like a curb
the
check.
Dodge Ram through the old A-frame.
He did. He did a curb check with a pants rip. So
Yeah.
like that's still pretty decent. So yeah, I think. What do you think? 14 Loco.
And he was found in a ditch. So I'm thinking 3.5, 4 cans. So you're right. 12 to 14.
His chaps are scrapped.
12 to 14 Loco.
Okay.
This guy is
12 to 14
fucked.
Loco. All right, we'll go with it.
Great.
All right, so we're here today with Chad from Brewfinity in Oconomowoc. How you doing, Chad?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Not too bad. So
Good,
we were
good.
just kind of wondering, could we get a little history about Brewfinity, how you guys got started?
Sure. Basically, there was an existing brew pub here on site that went up for sale in 2015. I moved forward to purchase it and took over 2016 the facility and bought the assets from the previous owners, and basically have been doing this now coming up on 5 years.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, we actually were just sipping on the Brewfinity.
Yeah.
Awesome. Where are you
Oh no,
drinking?
or the
We had
day
the
drinker.
day drinker.
Sorry, the day drinker, which was the one we were drinking, which is like
Yeah.
the American Premium Lager, I believe.
Yep, that is correct. That's one of our flagships here.
That's a good one. It's kind of cool. It has the American take, a little bit, a darker, danker flavor, which I
Yeah.
like. It was really good.
Yeah, that one actually started out as just a one-off. Obviously, I was a home brewer before I bought the facility, and I wanted to test my hand at making a very light, delicate beer, because one of the things as a home brewer they always do is make a bold beer because it covers up any imperfections you might have in your brewing process. So I thought, well, the American light lagers, if you screw something up, it'll show right away. So I kind of did it just as a test, and right as we were getting done with the batch, I wasn't going to produce any more of it. We had the beer garden from Heartland. They were just going to start up, and they came in, sampled a bunch of beers, and Pat over there really liked the day drinker. So basically, we continued producing it, and it's continued ever since.
Awesome. And yeah, we were just wondering about the marketing and the can designs. It's kind of cool because it kind of gives me like a flashback feel to the 70s. I love the artwork.
Yeah. So we work with the designer. His name is Joe Till. He went to WCTC, and he reached out to us when he graduated and was curious if we were looking to do any can designs at that point, and that was right as we were starting to get into canning. So we've worked with him exclusively since.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a nice design.
It's
so.
it's very cool. I don't know. I get like a really cool like 70s like really cool like a hip vibe from the 70s. I don't know. I loved it.
Cool.
And then I was going to ask you what are some upcoming beers you guys have that we have to try?
We're actually in the process of introducing a bunch of new ones. We each year, or when we get close to one of our beers being done, we kind of go back, look at the sales over the course of the beer, and decide if we're going to rebrew it or not. And we had a couple that were pretty routinely being brewed for us that have dropped off. So we're kind of going through and coming up with some new ones here. Our Snowflake Joe is one that we did. We just released that one recently. It's a coffee infused white stout. It's delicious. We're just getting that out into the market in cans. It's been out for about 3 weeks now, but we're making a heavier push for that one. We also have a chocolate peanut butter porter that will be coming out in about 3 weeks, also in cans. That one's called Chocolate Nut House. We also have a new rye amber that we're going to be releasing here in the tap room, hazy blackberry IPA, which we don't even have a name for. We're going to do a barley wine, we're going to name that Knuckle Dragger, because we thought high ABV,
Yeah.
after a couple of them, your knuckles will probably be dragging on the ground.
Oh yeah,
so,
for sure.
that's just a handful of the ones we have coming out. And then we have a pilot system here where we just do basically 1 barrel batches. So we've been using that to try some new stuff, as well as, provide something interesting in the tap room that we probably wouldn't do in a larger batch.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. So me and Eric were like home brewers too, so we always tried experimentals, and
Yeah.
that's kind of my favorite thing. You never know what it's going to turn out like. I love it.
Yeah, you just wait a little while and see what you came up with, I guess.
Yeah, and the cool thing with that is, you don't really have to worry about any costs or anything. You just do whatever you want. So
Yeah, I know
that's the cool thing with home brewing.
Yeah, we were experimenting, kind of doing the single malt, single hop to kind of get the flavors before we would start to make kind of a mesh mix of different types of beers.
Sure. Yep.
So I was going to ask you, I know COVID's been very weird for this year, but do you guys have any like regular events that people can go to and check out?
We don't. We do trivia on Wednesday nights. We just kind of started that one back up. but with COVID, it's been, I mean, we've had decent crowds. We've had barely anybody in here, but I mean, we just started that about 4 weeks ago. So we're kind of hoping that maybe we can get into a routine with that. We basically removed a handful of our tables just to make sure it wasn't quite as tight in here as it was previous to COVID. So we do have things spaced out pretty good here. Other events that we have going, we just finished up with our Brewfinity Marathon, which we sponsored it with Silver Circle Sporting Events. But we don't really have much coming up right now. Just we have a Halloween party we'll probably do at the end of the month, but we still gotta coordinate that. So keep an eye on our website or Facebook for details on that.
Oh, we will
Awesome.
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so before we let you go, we ask all of our guests, how Wisconsin are you? Just a few random questions to find out how many of these weird Wisconsin things you've done.
Yeah.
Sure.
So have you ever
Shoot.
eaten a squeaky cheese curd?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of a weekly thing for me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, we actually used to get them in from Kramer's Cheese in Watertown, and whenever they come in, we package them up in the tap room, and I'd have to eat a handful of them every time and get the squeaky cheese. And
Yeah.
if we have somebody that's from not Wisconsin come in, we'd always say, "Oh, you gotta try cheese curds, and let me know what you think of the squeak." So
Yeah.
they're always taken back by that.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah, unlike the ones that have been sitting on the shelf for a while where they lose that like little water and the squeak to them, it's nice to have. Like a lot of people don't get the chance to ever try one.
Yeah, it's interesting that it just takes a little while for that squeak to go away too.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, so next question. Have you ever tailgated at a Brewers, Packers, or Badgers game?
All three.
The trifecta.
Perfect score.
People have been hitting this lately.
Yeah, the trifecta.
Is that really? I mean, if you're from Wisconsin, that shouldn't even be a question. That's just assumed at this
I
point.
know.
Right.
Have you ever wore a cheese hat or any cheese paraphernalia?
Yes, I have. I've worn a cheese head at a Packer game, I'm pretty sure. And when they first came out, I think everybody was wearing them. So
It was definitely the fad, right? Everybody had to try their hand at some cheese paraphernalia.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't just a hat. It was or the cheese wedges. You know, they got the hat and every other thing now.
Yeah,
too, so.
cowboy hats, bras, hard hats, everything.
Have you ever hit a deer?
I've actually had a deer hit me.
Wow.
So I
Whoa.
was driving down the road, and it ran into the side of my car, did a bunch of damage, and then ran away. So I don't know what I had done to the deer to tick it off, but apparently it didn't like my vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we've all been there, right?
Yep.
All right. Have you ever had a true muddled old fashioned?
Yes, I have.
It's kind of, that's one too. It's kind of a Wisconsin staple. If you haven't had one in Wisconsin, I don't know. I don't know what to say to you.
But now the question is, what do you put in with it? I mean,
There you
if
go.
you're from Wisconsin, it better be brandy, right?
Yeah.
Brandy is the choice.
Because I know originally the recipe called for whiskey, I believe, was the original recipe, but obviously brandy is the way to go. The blackberry brandy
Yeah,
is like
Wisconsin
the way to
changed
go.
it up a bit.
I think I just heard something that Wisconsin consumes about 50% of the brandy production or something
Yeah,
like that in the world.
You got that right, and if we have anything to say about it, we'll consume more.
We're upset that's a failing grade for us. It's
Exactly.
only 50%, so.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because I just saw. I think Corbel produced like where they sell their most sales, and I think, like you said, I think it's like 60% or more in Wisconsin alone, which is just insane.
Yeah, and considering I believe they're worldwide, so.
Yeah. All right. Have you ever milked a cow?
I have not milked a cow.
That's okay. That's the one that we generally stump a few of the listeners and the guests.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to be a true rural farm boy or somebody. You know, you don't always get the chance.
Have a friend that works on a farm and done it, by hand or whatever. I have seen it done. I have been on a farm when they're milking the cows, but they use the machinery for that. They don't let you actually get under there and milk the cow. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, one we kind of had to take off the list, but I had to do it was inseminate a cow. Not a good thing.
Not a fun Sunday.
I have never done that either. So
good. You don't want to.
doesn't seem like a fun process.
No, it's the one thing you kind of regret, living on a farm or helping farmers out. It's the one thing you feel a little like you need to take a shower after it. So, have you ever been to a supper club, and do you have a favorite one?
When I was growing up, my parents would go out every Friday and Saturday night to the supper clubs up where we grew up, and I would usually go along with them at least, a couple times a month. So I've been to a ton of supper clubs. I don't think they exist anymore. Just, this was like 30 years ago. So
you're talking like the true supper clubs, the old 70s,
or just the ones that
absolutely.
you went to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so the next one I have for you, is there a beer you recommend from Brewfinity to use in beer brats?
Well, we do have a jalapeno lager called Jorge, which goes great with the bratwurst. So when you're boiling it in, you're getting the jalapeno flavor into them. So that's a very
delicious.
Unique one. Otherwise, obviously, Day Drinker would be a good choice. One of those two would definitely work well for it.
Awesome.
Definitely trying it. We always say that, you hate wasting a craft beer, but at the same time, it's like you kind of want to get that different flavor in your...
Yeah, the really good pronounced flavor of a craft beer.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if you're making chili, you always pour a porter or a stout into it to give it that level of depth, so...
All right, next question. Have you Bloody Marys, have you ever had one in the morning, and what do you use in yours?
I have had them in the morning. I'm not a big fan of tomato juice, so a friend of ours goes heavy on Worcestershire and spices it up, and I'll drink those. But if it's just a standard one, I'm not a fan, so it's got to be spicy and a lot of Worcestershire in it for me to enjoy it.
Gotcha. I'm in the same boat. That's kind of how I do it too.
Yeah.
So. Besides Brewfinity, is there another brewery, brew pub, or even a brewery tour that you recommend our listeners go check out?
Well, I'm pretty sure Lakefront is the gold standard for brewery tours because, when Russ and Jim started the place, I think I read a story where Russ was given the serious tour and then Jim just kind of, made crap up and, made it entertaining. And it got to the point where everybody was requesting Jim's tours versus Russ's. So that's kind of where the gold standard for the tour came in. People are there just to enjoy themselves. To some extent, they probably really don't care about how the beer is made and, just very casually want to know, but they're more interested in drinking the beer. That's why they're there for the tour.
Yeah, they're just there for the Laverne and Shirley part.
Exactly, yep.
So I got one more question. Up in your area, is there, like a Conwalk area, is there another brew pub you recommend checking out?
There is another brewery across town called Steel Tank Brewing. They just opened up this year. We're currently contract brewing for them, so
Awesome.
They give us the recipe, we brew it for them. Other than that, there's another one just west of us called Hubbleton. It's a real small one. It's located out on a farm, but they do a really nice job over there too.
Awesome.
Thank you, Chad. We really appreciate your time and helping us schedule this. Like, we're glad to have you on, and we can't wait to get up to Brewfinity.
Yeah, we're definitely going to make a visit.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll have to have some chats about beer one of these days. And but we hope you enjoy your Sunday.
All right. Thank you very much for calling, guys.
All right.
Thanks,
you,
Chad. Bye.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. All right. That concludes this episode of Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast.
If you enjoyed this vulgar display of Wisconsin, we recommend you subscribe via SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn.
Also, leave us a review on any one of those above-mentioned sites, and we can read one at the end of every show. Follow us on social media, and feel free to reach out, especially if there is a piece of history or weird news you'd love us to share or research, as well as highlight some local artists or music. Our website is projectcapestudio.com.
I'd also like to thank my friend and past coworker, Steph Skiback, for providing us with awesome podcast cover art, as well as the Dangits for intro and outro music, and all of you for listening. As always,
Watch out for deer on the way home.